Okay, my webcam is like down here where my fingers are, but I'm gonna look at the screen because I can. We can back up a little bit. Just praying that this microphone works. Look, you can see it. You can see it. Just tell me if it's not loud enough. I mean, I can only scream so loud. So I released a YouTube or a comment. What is it called? A community post. There we go. I am so mad at YouTube. I'm livid. You're like, don't do that. Oh God, focus. Hello. Hey here. Oh crap. What have I done? Focus. There we go. So I got lights set up. It's gonna get hot in here, and I'm furious. I am beyond, like, I don't understand. I don't. Right? Like Lunar Wisdom, if she was here, like my ghetto wall, gotta paint it eventually. If Lunar Wisdom was here, she would tell me, why do you even care if your videos didn't get monetized? You don't make any money off of it. I don't know why I'm picking on Lunar Wisdom. I just feel like that's something Lunar Wisdom would say. But it's not a fact of making money. It is a fact that even if I put out the most conscientious, most kid-friendly content, like nothing about it is wrong, it still gets demonetized. It's not that it gets demonetized where I don't make a single penny. It goes into limited to no ads. For nothing. And then you go and you request a review and they say they manually reviewed it, which all they did was pass it through their bot again. And it still gets nothing. And then your videos don't even get reviewed because you don't have 1,000 views on it or 100,000 or whatever the case is. So I'm so frustrated. And these last few days, I've been trying to upload videos and share content with you people, but it's like YouTube's like, well, no, we don't like you. And you know what, YouTube? I don't like you either. I would all but leave this platform. I would just leave the platform and just... After a huge release back to back, you could start picking days of the week to do specifically themed videos to get pulled into YouTube's popular algorithm. Actually, the only way to get pulled into that algorithm is to upload 5 days a week and have lots and lots of views. That's the only way to get into people's recommendation videos. Or people have to be watching the same type of content as yours with similar tags. And as you start watching more and more of those videos, then other channels will start popping up. So it's not necessarily the fact that I care about how many views I get or how many subscribers I have. It's the fact that even when I comply with all of YouTube's rules on some videos, not all of them, but on some videos, it's like, no, you get no monetization, you get nothing, you're like dead to the rest of the world, like we're gonna take away all your money. And it's like, okay, great, you're taking away my pennies. Like, who cares? Who cares that you're taking away my pennies? Except the fact is that even when I comply with all your rules, you know what's funny? The Viewer's Voice, it's a drama channel for the beauty community. The host on there named Nick, he says, hey, and then it's the B word at the beginning of every one of his videos. And as far as I know, I have no actual proof of this, but as far as I know, all of them are monetized. Philip DeFranco, he's a news channel on YouTube. He reports on like YouTube stuff and real world stuff. He says, what is it? Hello, you beautiful. And it's Astards. And I'm just like, how are you people getting away with this? Like, even other videos where they swear in them or they say inappropriate things or whatever the case is, their videos are monetized. But if I say one swear, ooh, girl. Like how is like YouTube is not fair to all of its people. Just because somebody has 300,000 subscribers or somebody has 12.6 million subscribers, whatever the case may be with Philip DeFranco, doesn't mean that YouTube as a company can treat them any different than it treats the rest of us. A small channel like mine will get its videos demonetized if I even breathe a swear word. But a video like Philip DeFranco's or The Viewer's Voice or whoever else can swear all they want and their videos are not like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. The bad videos get a lot of alcohol commercials, probably because you need to drink in order to pay attention to them. My hair underneath this is a disaster, so I'm covering it up. And I thought instead of like doing a live on my laptop, I would actually put some effort in. Not that I put much effort into anything. So I'm really frustrated because I'm trying to figure out, okay, what am I allowed to say? What am I allowed to talk about? What am I not allowed to say? What am I not allowed to talk about? Like my book review video today, like I'm 70% sure that was the most kid-friendly video I've ever made. Yet it gets limited to no ads. And my other video from the cleansing video, I swore in that video and it's monetized. So like, can somebody figure their stuff out at YouTube and be like, everybody gets demonetized if they swear or nobody gets demonetized? Like, this just does not make any sense. YouTube is pandering to the biggest subscribers. They're pandering, they're trying to keep all of their monetization up and all of that fun stuff. But when it comes to the little guy like me or you or somebody else, it's like, what are you allowed and what are you not allowed to do in your video? In fact, I'm 97% sure this one will be demonetized for no reason whatsoever. Like, it's just so annoying. So I am a little upset right now because I don't want to do content anymore if I can't say anything without it getting demonetized. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not fair to me, and it's, you know, it's not fair to you. It's not fair to anybody that some big named YouTube channel can swear all they want or open their videos with a swear word and their videos don't get demonetized. Like, I've got videos with me in solitary where they should technically be demonetized, but they're monetized. And then I have other videos with me and Lunar Wisdom where they should be monetized, but they're limited to no ads. Like, this doesn't, and they've been manually reviewed. And I'm like, what are you people doing? So now it's just like this whole process and this whole annoying thing where it's like, what's the point? Like, obviously I'm not going to make millions of dollars off of my thousands of subscribers, but it's just, you put work, maybe not a lot, but you put work into the stuff that you're putting out on YouTube, and you're hoping that, you know, one day when you're billions of subscribers that you'll make money off of your older content. And it's like, not going to happen. That's also why I go through and delete a lot of my videos, because I delete the unmonetized ones, but I can't do that now because some of the unmonetized ones, like the Grimoire series, is fine to be unmonetized. That one's using copyrighted music. So like, I get that. I really, really do. But a book review video where I'm talking about 4 different witchy books and you demonetize it and you manually review it, and even I manually reviewed it, and I was like, there's nothing wrong here. Like, what is going on? I haven't heard anybody else in the witchy community talk about this at all, especially around YouTube. Around when that adpocalypse thing was happening, you'd hear about it. Like, you'd hear people talk about, oh, well, I guess YouTube is over now and like all this other stuff. And I was like, this doesn't really affect my channel because I'm a smaller channel. And like, I'm over the 1,000 subscribers, so I like retain all of the privileges I had when I first started making videos that they took away from people who are under 1,000 subscribers. I'm sorry, like who cares if your videos are monetized and you have 100 viewers or 100 subscribers? Like you're not gonna make anything off of that. So I don't understand why YouTube had to take that away. But it's just, it's been a frustrating day, and I'm just like, ooh, I'm done with it. I'm done with this drama of trying to put videos out there, and it's just like, oh. I think they just aren't paying attention, like slowly pumping out fluffy videos until they actually review with a real human would give you more monetization. That's the problem though, is I don't want to go down the fluffy video route. Like that's not who I am. Like I can cut all the swearing and all of that. Like I can cut what they would consider inappropriate. Like I made 2 sexual references in my cleansing video, and it's still monetized. Like this doesn't make any sense. YouTube's monetization scheme, the way they review your video to see if it's appropriate or not, does not make sense. Like last night's live video was green, and then it went yellow this morning, and I was like, I could understand. There were some sketchy moments in there, but still, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's affecting smaller channels more than you think it is. And it's not just the monetization thing. It's this whole conspiracy that I've been like learning about on YouTube, which is an interesting place to learn about YouTube itself, is if your video is yellow for monetization, or it has no monetization for whatever reason, or you've disabled the likes and dislikes, or the comments are disabled, or all of that, or some of that, or you know what I'm talking about, then YouTube does not recommend your videos. That's the conspiracy, is that YouTube basically says, no, we're not going to recommend your videos. They have no monetization, so it doesn't make sense to put ads in this video. They don't have their likes or dislikes enabled. I don't know why that matters. I think we should get rid of this likes and dislikes concept in our entire social media environment. Facebook should get rid of them. Twitter should get rid of them, like the little heart thing. Instagram should get rid of the likes thing. YouTube should get rid of likes and dislikes. Like, that doesn't help. It doesn't help the community. When you look at your video and you're like, let's say you have 13,000 likes and like 130 dislikes, like 130 people either hate you and disliked your video, or they disliked your video for some other reason. And it's like, just get rid of that whole like and dislike thing. It's so toxic to trying to build a community. I know I worried about that for a while, where it was like, oh, I'm getting all these dislikes and like, I don't understand who these people are. I mean, I figured out who these people were. So I'm just really frustrated, because if I put out the fluffy content, then it's like no one's gonna watch, because that's not what you people come to the Witchy Show for. But if I put out more controversial content, even if I'm not swearing or cussing or anything like that, then it's like, it still gets demonetized, and it's like, why? What I would like them to do, what I would really like YouTube to do, is that when they go to review your video and they tell you, oh, it's been manually reviewed, we don't like this, it should instantly send you a report of what specifically was wrong with the video at what timestamps. Right? Like that would help. Like if there was no cussing, but it was like, oh, you talked about this Islamic group, or you talked about this religion, or you whatever, then then that way you would be able to be like, okay, at this timestamp. And it's like, if they could include buttons where you could just remove that content, like that would be fine with me, right? Like that is a proper way to deal with limited or no ads, or just completely demonetizing the video altogether. So when YouTube became a big deal, Fred was the most popular channel, kid-friendly content, and to start, and now he vlogs and gets inappropriate because he made it. I'm at this stage right now where I don't want to do any more content. Like, I have content next year that I'm going to release, and it's series, and I understand that some of it can't be monetized because of the music I'm using, and that's fine. But I think there's only two series, I believe, that can't be monetized. The other two should be able to be monetized. I'm frustrated because I've been green for so long, and then all of a sudden a bunch of my videos started going yellow, and I was like, and I get them manually viewed, and then I was like, you know what, we're just going to delete a whole bunch of videos. So that's why we had the whole Witchy Show apocalypse, hashtag Witchy Show apocalypse, where I just deleted a crap ton of videos. See, that right there is probably going to get my video demonetized. Like, what are you allowed to say and what are you not allowed to say on YouTube? Like, I'm so confused. Are you even allowed to talk about YouTube? Like, is that going to get this demonetized? I have explicitly stated that my content is not for children. It's mostly educational. And like, what is going? There are no children around. Do you see any children in my video? Like, no. Like, even YouTube is stating that if there's a child in your video and your content is not child friendly, your video will be instantly demonetized. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, none of this makes sense. Music Problem Solve, a lot of fine MIDI files that are available for download. Well, no, I don't mind, because those videos where I use copyrighted music, I turn off monetization, and then I still get the emails, but I don't care. So I don't care about those videos. Like, I know going into making that particular series or making that particular video that this video will not make any money. But the last few videos I've been doing throughout the week have largely or mostly been appropriate. Like, the Return to Sender spell has been manually reviewed and is not allowed to make any money. Okay. What if I just went to Patreon? What if I just moved all of my content to Patreon and was like, sorry, the Witchy Show is now behind a closed door because YouTube is being a blank. You know? So I wanted to rant and I wanted to rave about that, because it is important to me to be able to upload my content and know that if it's along the same way as other witches have been doing it on YouTube, that it should be monetized, but whatever. We're just not gonna deal with this right now. Like, I give up. I give up. And it only bugs me because I know I will continue to grow, and eventually I will be at that part where it's like, hey, I have this like magical piece of paper from YouTube that tells me that I've made money. What if I just went fluffy? Like, what if I just went 100% Wiccan, 100% just aesthetic witchcraft, like no substance, surface level, fluffy Buffy, and just, you know, YouTube would probably demonetize my videos then too. They'd be like, oh, you're a man, you're white and you're a man, you're not allowed to make any money. Like, that would probably be... Then I would complain that Jeffree Star is making money off YouTube videos. Okay, so I wanted to talk today about this concept of you can be whatever you want to be. You can be fluffy for a year or two, and when you make it, just say whatever you want. No, we're just... If I go fluffy, I know I'm going to lose half of you. The other... It's funny, I was looking at my analytics today, and 69.1% of the people who view my videos are subscribed. So, yay, notifications are working, and yay, bell, and all that fun stuff. All of that's working. 69% of you who watch my videos are subscribed. Thank the Lord. Which would also mean that I should be getting a lot more views on my videos, but whatever, because I have 1,800 of you. But okay, you know what? I'm just frustrated. I'm not too worried about not getting anywhere with my channel, because that will eventually come. But I'm just annoyed that even if I upload the most perfect, most sincere video, like even my working videos, 2 of them today are flagged as not suitable for advertisers. They're 2 working videos where I don't use any copyright music whatsoever. And there's no talking. There's nothing. I'm not saying a word in them. And they're not suitable for advertisers even after being manually reviewed. What? That doesn't make any sense to me. It just makes me mad. And yes, I wanted to talk about this. And yes, I'm going to talk about this because it's my channel. And it affects me. It affects you too. It affects people who are smaller channels, that like some of the channels that were watching me last night that were, you know, chatting in the chat and whatnot. Like they're affected by this as well. Like they may only have like 100 or 150 subs or whatever, but they will grow. Like they will grow. And it's like, why are you demonetizing videos that are perfectly fine? Like, just go away. You know what this manual review thing should be? It should be an actual human being who physically sits at a table with a physical monitor and physically clicks on the video and physically watches and listens to every single word, letter, sentence, everything in that video. And then, and only then, are they allowed to make a judgment. I am tired of this AI thing because it's not good. This AI concept that we've got going on right now, where it's like everything goes through bots and everything gets filtered through bots and like all this other stuff, and they're constantly learning. Like, it's not working. It's really not working. I don't understand why YouTube just doesn't let us upload whatever we want as long as it's not breaking a law. Like, they used to do that. Sheesh. And I mean, they technically still kind of do allow you to do that, but this whole flagging of videos and people going from Twitch onto YouTube to say, oh, I'm a copyright strike that video, or I'm gonna report that video, or whatever, like, that's also a thing that's hit me in the past, where a bunch of trolls and a bunch of bullies just decided to go and report all my videos. Like, every single one of my videos got reported at one point. And I was like, are you serious? Like, who has time to go through that many videos and click the report button? I don't. Anyways. Oh, they were just reported for things that weren't true. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm not even going to get into that. But I did want to talk about a comment that Lunar Wisdom left on one of my videos. Where is it? I gotta find it. Apparently, when you upload a lot of videos in a very short amount of time, you get a lot of comments. And I'm like, whoa, what is happening? Did she keep her comment up? Oh, she did. I was like, where is it? Okay, so this is what I actually wanted to talk about in the video. An individual can call themselves anything they want, but it doesn't mean it's true, or that we perceive them as such. Someone can call themselves a Wiccan, or they can call themselves a unicorn, or they can call themselves a werewolf. It doesn't mean it's true, or other perspectives, or others perceive them, or that others perceive them as such. With religion or spiritual paths, actually anything, there are things that define it as what it is. If we all start defining things in our own ways, then the word label loses the original meaning. It's sad, really. To be completely honest with you about this label concept, labels need to go away. Let's look at Wicca. Wicca is not what Wicca used to be. It never was. Well, no, it was at one point, but it's not anymore. Not since, I'd say, the 90s. Maybe the 70s, when the New Age movement was really getting going. But it's not what it used to be. Wicca was never just used. Red Spirit, I completely disagree, and I don't think you know what you're talking about, because Wicca just used to be a healing magic. No, that's not true at all. It's time for you to go read a book, Red Spirit. Okay, love ya. But like, Wicca isn't what it used to be. So all these people who call themselves Wiccans today, and I'm not invalidating anybody. That's the line we have to be really careful when we walk, is because we live in this era where when you start invalidating people because they believe it to be true, even though you perceive them or you see them or you know things about their spiritual practice that just isn't true, they perceive it to be true, and as a result, when you start questioning that, they get really, really mad. Traditional Wicca. Okay, traditional Wicca is so much more than what modern day Wicca is. There are two Wicca. Okay, two of them. There's supposed to be one, but there's two. There's the fluffy New Age movement Wicca, which has been around since Charmed, and you get all the fluffy books and all the substanceless videos and Tumblr posts and all of that stuff. And then you get traditional Wicca, which isn't talked about from my perception as much on YouTube as the New Age fluffy Wicca. That is where this concept of fluffy witches came from, because a fluffy witch is somebody, it's not that they're new, it's not that they're just dipping in, it's people who call themselves Wiccans but don't actually practice the spiritual aspect of it, be it witchcraft or the actual religion, and they go about with their crystals and their sage and their incense, and they're like, oh, I'm a witch and I'm a Wiccan and I'm all this. And that's where we're like, no, you're not, but okay. However, there are people who practice traditional Wicca that are witches. And traditional Wicca, in my understanding, doesn't have the same bounds and restrictions as this more modern day movement of Wicca. So what do I mean by that? Well, for example, in traditional Wicca, there is no concept of this threefold law. As far as I know, I can't see a Gerald Gardner coven, somebody who like a coven that is based off of the principles and practices and teachings of Gerald Gardner using the threefold law. Same with Alexandrian, same with Dianic, any other kind of traditional Wiccan practice that you can think of. Because those witches, those Wiccans, while yes, they follow a religion and they follow a set of, I call them religious guidelines, you know, like special holidays and special esbats and rituals for this and rituals for that and so on and so forth. They, at the end of the day, are still witches and will deal with the situation that they have in front of them any way they see fit. Whereas modern day Wiccans are all about peace, love, light, healing, tranquility, raising vibrations, chakras, karma, all of that stuff that has been cultural. Some of it's been cultural appropriated. Some of it has just been really dumbed down. Some of it has been very basic and just very surface level. Those people call themselves Wiccans. We may not. But because we live in this age now where if you invalidate, even with proof, if you invalidate somebody's practice, they get really offended. Now, I'm very popular for doing this. Like, I have no issue telling you that, in my opinion, your practice, the way you deal with witchcraft or Wicca or whatever, does not make sense, and in my mind is not witchcraft or is not Wicca. I am known for being hashtag Queen Elsa when it comes to that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, you can't technically invalidate them because they'll get offended. And then when they get offended, they get numbers together. And when they get numbers together, it's like you have a whole army showing up at your door, and it's the leader being like, you said this about me. And it's like, oh my God, I'm not dealing with this. You know what I'm saying? So lunar wisdom is correct. You can call yourself anything you want. I can call myself an Apache helicopter. Doesn't mean I am one. But the thing is just because we don't see that, or we don't perceive it, or we don't accept it, or we don't understand it, so we don't like it, or whatever the case may be, doesn't invalidate them or their practice. It just draws a very distinct line in the sand of what is Wicca and what is modern day Wicca. The fluffy and the light and all of that stuff. So it's not about invalidate. It's not about, you know, saying that, oh, you can't call yourself a Wiccan if you don't practice a certain way, because people have been doing that since forever. You know, you get these people who, I don't know, give me an example. You get these people who call themselves like a Wiccan priestess, and they have no understanding of the religion or the teachings or the practices or the spirits or anything like that, like the spirituality of it, and they just, and they call themselves a Wiccan priestess, and they defend that. They defend it to the core of their being because they believe in their heart of hearts that they are a Wiccan priestess, and anybody who says no or anything otherwise is wrong. And it's just like, and that's where you get this whole back and forth fight from within the witchy community, because it's mostly people trying to be like, wait a minute, your practice, the way you're doing things, the things you're saying, the things you're promoting, the things you're teaching don't make sense in correlation to what I've been taught, what I've learned, how I've practiced. Now, everybody's practice is going to be different. Everybody is going to have a different flair of how they practice Wicca or witchcraft or hoodoo or whatever. But at the same time, we understand that there are certain things that make it what we know it is, but people take those things and they twist them, and then it's not what it used to be, but they still call themselves that. So it just becomes this fight that you never want to be a part of. And that's why I'm just like, you know what, if you want to call yourself a Wiccan and you're some fluffy new age crystal loving sage waving obvious pretender, then you do whatever makes you the happiest. Because we live in that era where if you start, like, I've had this a few times where people will call me out on my YouTube channel and they're like, you can't say that about Wiccans because not all Wiccans are like that. Or not all Wiccans believe this, or blah, 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 blah. But the majority of you on social media do. Those are the ones that I am annoyed about. Those are the people that I don't respect, because you can easily invalidate their craft, but you can't do it to their face. Like, you can't say negative things about their practice because it's still their practice, and if they want to believe it, then they can believe it. That reminds me of Cindy Lou Who, when she was on YouTube. You could invalidate her craft 6 ways from Sunday. Nothing about her craft at all was anything of substance. She didn't know how to read tarot cards. She didn't know how to read oracle cards. She didn't know how to do anything. She wasn't working with any of the deities she said she was. She wasn't doing this. She wasn't doing that. She was not a witch in the sense that we would look at her content, look at her YouTube channel and say, okay, you are a witch. You are a practicing spiritual being. because her entire channel was literally fluff, and it was very I don't want to say wrong. What's the other word? Misleading. It was very misleading content because it would lead new witches down the wrong path, making them think that this is what witchcraft is when it wasn't. And all of the deities that she was apparently working with, you could research those deities, look at her, and be like, there's no way this deity would ever work with you. Like, it was funny because I think someone mentioned she was working with Loki, and I had reached out to Loki and did a ritual and was like, hey, I'm just curious. And he's like, no. So it's like, okay, so she's not working? No, okay. But when you start throwing this kind of evidence, spiritual evidence, at people and invalidating their craft, they get really upset. So while lunar wisdom is technically correct, in today's society, she would be technically wrong. In the Trump era, she would be technically wrong. Because if a guy walking down the street, fully dressed as a man, says he identifies as a woman, and you look at him and you've taken off all his clothes and you're like, you are clearly a man, but he identifies as a woman, he says he's a woman, he says, my name is Trisha or whatever, and he's like, I'm a beautiful, glorious woman, and he believes it in his heart of heart, then, I mean, you can sit there all day and you can argue and you can validate him all you want, but those type of people are the people that we are dealing with in the spiritual community, the people who believe in their heart of hearts that they're practicing this. Now, does that make them a fool? Probably. But at the same time, it's like we live in that era where trying to invalidate somebody, which I am very famous for doing, is just not a thing anymore, which is sad, because it's not that the witchy community or the witchy society or whatever you want to call it is it's not that witchcraft or Wicca is some closed off system that no one except for a few old white men are allowed to be a part of, or old white women. It's a practice that we take seriously, Africans take their culture seriously, and Christians take their religion seriously, and Muslims take their culture and religion seriously. And, we as spiritualists need to take what we do seriously. And when we encounter people who maybe either make a mockery of it or say that they're a part of it, but they're not, and you can clearly and evidently see that they're not a part of it, then it's just like, you can't say anything because it'll offend them. So it's just, tonight is not a good night. I've just been sitting in my room since I finished work 5 hours ago, and I'm just frustrated, and I'm upset, and I'm angry, and I'm just... You cleanse your house to get rid of all this negativity, and then you fill it up with negative energy again. Spilling juice all over myself. So, I don't know. But that's my thoughts on it. That is my... and everybody is free to disagree and say, no, if you're a witch, then you're a witch. Because there's a lot of this going around where if you say you're a witch, then you're a witch, no questions asked. But shouldn't we be asking questions? Especially when things start not sounding right. That's why Cindy Lou Who left YouTube. People started calling her out on her thing that she was doing, her spiritual practice. She's not on YouTube anymore. She hasn't uploaded in 6 or 7 months. And then, when you compare Cindy Lou Who to the Lady Grave Dancer, you clearly see what lunar wisdom is talking about. Because the Lady Grave Dancer says she's a witch and proves she's a witch. Cindy Lou Who says she's a witch and never proves it. Even Lady Grave Dancer, when she was doing more basic, more fluffy, more easy to grasp kind of videos, like you would consider them to be fluffy, I guess, there was authenticity there. I think that's the other thing that defines you as a witch. And it's not that it defines you in the public eye, it's that it defines you by you being able to answer the question honestly. Is your craft authentic? Is what you do authentic? Do you believe what you say? With that being said, there's a lot of crazy aspects of the craft that we haven't quite, like, not all of us are a part of, or we haven't really gone down that road, or whatever the case may be. And so we may look at those aspects of the craft when somebody's talking about them, or practicing them, or demonstrating them, or whatever. And we may say, hey, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't work. This must not be real. And then you look it up. Maybe hard to find, but you look it up and you're like, oh, okay. Okay, this is a thing. Okay. You're valid. Yay, I validated you by looking up your thing that you were doing. I don't know what I'm doing here. My hands are having a stroke. Okay, I'm having a stroke. It sounds inappropriate. Somebody who's watching this, like, tomorrow is gonna be like, this is why your videos get demonetized. But see, I wasn't saying anything or doing anything there. Like, you would have no idea unless you were a physical human being, physically watching the video, physically looking for these type of things, which YouTube does not do. It goes through their bot system again, and then they just say manually reviewed. And it's like, no. The other thing that kind of makes today's society and witchcraft difficult is that there is a movement going around. I've seen it. I don't know how popular it is, but there is a movement kind of going around on Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr, mostly Tumblr, where it is a bunch of younger kids. So, I mean, this means nothing to anybody, but it's like, you know, people in their 20s, 25, stuff like that. And they're talking about how witchcraft, specifically Wicca, is only for females. I don't know where they got this from, because last I checked, Gerald Gardner was a guy, and he invented Wicca. So, okay. Or that witchcraft is only for females. That if you look back in history, you've never seen a male practitioner, and that's wrong. In fact, the only real, like, it's not that the only male practitioner that I could find. I mean, Gerald Gardner's one. The Alexander dude who created the Alexandrian Wicca is. And then you've got, what's his name? You all know who I'm talking about. Aleister Crowley. You've also got lots of famous male practitioners throughout time and history and space. And yet these movements are saying, oh, men are not allowed to practice. And then you've got some YouTube videos where people are talking about how the craft, in fact, this one's a hilarious one. So I was watching, what's her name? Or what's their name? What are they called again? Oh, what are they called? It's that witch group, Witch Patrol. So apparently, according to Witch Patrol, which is not a creditable source at all, witchcraft is only meant for black people, and white people are just appropriating all of witchcraft. It would make sense if it was hoodoo, or, you know, more Africanized versions of hoodoo, or hoodoo, voodoo, voodoo, you know, African-based religions. Like hoodoo is a mix of various races today, but, you know, like if it was more African-based, then yeah, like specifically stuff that requires you to be initiated, be a part of that culture, be born into it or raised on it or whatever, like that makes sense. But like to say all of witchcraft belongs to Black people is no. Like, I'm sorry, Witch Patrol, you're doing it wrong. My imaginary egg dried out hearing that. I have no idea what you heard. Jesus was a male witch. I don't know what Jesus was or even if Jesus is real, but we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. Technically, Moses was also a witch, and so was King Solomon. But we're not going to go there because when you, like, I'm really frustrated with what I'm seeing in the social media aspect of witchcraft these days. You get these people who, on one hand, are die-hard. Witchcraft can be anything. It can be anyone, it can be anything. It doesn't matter what it is. If you work with crystals, you're a witch. If you work with incense, you're a witch, whatever. And like, that's the left-hand side of it. That's the leftist view. And then you get the right-wing people who are like, witchcraft is defined by these set of stipulations, and so is Wicca, and so is traditional witchcraft, and so is hoodoo, and if you don't practice it this way, or in some form that conforms to our normality of what these particular practices are, then you're not doing it right, and therefore you're not a practitioner of this particular set of magic. Even if you say you are. And then you get the extreme right-wing people who are like, okay, Wicca is this, and this, and if you don't do this, and this, then you're fake, you're a fraud, you're this, you're that. And it's like, oh, that's too far. And then you get the really far left-wing, really far left, where they're like, witchcraft is only for females, and it's female energy, and how dare males get involved. And it's political. You can map witchcraft in the Trump era to, like, if you take the really far right-wing people and the right-wing people and the center left or the center right, and then the left and the really far left people and the even further left people in America today, if you take those groups of people and then you take where in the witchcraft community they would fall, you could easily see just how decisive it is. That's the other issue with witchcraft. At least the community, because people are so concerned with saying, you're wrong, I'm right. And that's the thing that I avoid on The Witchy Show. I am never right, I am always wrong. That is the viewpoint that I take from it. And only a few times have I been corrected in the comments. And it's like, okay, I appreciate you, you know? And it's just like, there is this, witches on social media are so busy going after other witches over how they practice, what they do, what they say, how they say it, what their videos are about, that type of stuff, that it becomes this mess. It doesn't even become about witchcraft or Wicca anymore. It just becomes this infighting of who's right and who's wrong, and who can say what and who can't say what, and who can practice what and who can't practice what. And that is the annoying part that took me 2 years, almost 3, to figure out. It took me almost 3 years to figure out that the witchcraft community on most social media platforms is more about bickering over what witchcraft is, what Wicca is, who's allowed to practice, who's allowed to call themselves what, who's not allowed to call themselves what we perceive, what people call themselves, so on and so forth. And it's like, who cares anymore? If somebody wants to call themselves a unicorn and practice unicorn fairy magic with sparkly glitter dust on a candle, let them. We may not perceive it or see it or accept it or acknowledge it or want anything to do with it, which would be the correct answer. But at the same time, it will invalidate them in our eyes, but they're not doing any harm to us. So you might take that and say, well, then why are you invalidating Cindy Lou Who? Because when you get on a social media platform and you start sharing and specifically educating Cindy Lou Who's entire intention was to educate people on how to practice witchcraft. And while, yes, most of her videos were very substance, and in most cases factually wrong, it doesn't necessarily invalidate her practice. What starts to invalidate somebody's practice is when they start giving you reason to invalidate their practice, when they start physically giving you evidence that doesn't correlate to books or teachings or the general conception of how spirits or spiritual relationships work. You know, if it works for them, obviously it's right, even if it's not right for you or me. Exactly. So if you want to call yourself, and you know, Cindy Lou Who's magic might have worked for her. I ran her off the platform for other reasons. Now we're not going to get into, because we need this. We need some monetization for once. It's not that her craft was invalid. or that it should invalidate her. Obviously, there were lots of invalidating factual evidence that you could look through her videos and point out and be like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and this is wrong. And when people have tried to call her out on that, she gets very defensive. Very, very defensive. Who are you to define what witchcraft is? Who are you to define what this is? Who are you to define my practice? Blah, 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 blah. And when you have to get really defensive over your own craft, you have to ask yourself, like, is this right? Like, is what I'm doing, is what I'm saying, is what I'm sharing right? You know? So like I was saying, if you want to believe that you're a unicorn with magical unicorn dust and you do magical glitter candle-based spells and all this stuff, great, do it. But if you're going to come on YouTube and you're going to start sharing how to do unicorn magic fairy sparkle dust magic, then be prepared for people to criticize you and to come and say, this doesn't make sense. I mean, it might make sense to a few people and they might be really interested in it. There is a form of witchcraft that is very artsy and crafty, where you're using lots of art, you're crafting lots of things, and you're putting magical intentions into them. That does make sense. I was watching a lady the other day who was making a junk journal, and she was putting like spells and charms and other things. It wasn't a book of shadows. It was that she was physically imbuing some of the pages with magical, I guess you call attributes or whatever, to make it a magical book. That's not wrong. She was using typical witchcraft. She was putting intentions in. She was, stuff like that. And that's perfectly valid, But when you are on YouTube and you're talking about tarot cards, but you're evidently reading from a book, or you're on your Patreon talking about tarot cards and I'm literally watching you read from a book, or you're like getting upset at your community because they're telling you something doesn't make sense here, like we can't find any information on this, like did you just invent this? And you're getting visibly upset at them. That's where we can technically invalidate you. We can technically say, this is all of the evidence that technically invalidates your craft. Now, what you do with that is your own thing. The only person I've ever really gone after in a really negative way was Derry Carpenter, and that was like way back. Like you want details on that, talk to Twilight Moon. But I went after her for all the wrong reasons. But looking back on it, there were a lot of things about Derry Carpenter's craft that was on the same level of Cindy Lou Who, where it just didn't mesh. It didn't fit. It didn't work. It raised a lot of questions. It raised a lot of just like, what is happening here? And at the same time, Derry was too busy going after Cat W Magic, and they were having their whole like, it's funny because the witchy community on YouTube is when Lady Gravedancer and Ember Honeyraven and Sunshine and Ravenflower and like all those people were actually around and in the witchy community and creating witchy content. I don't know what Ravenflower is doing now. I don't think it's witchy at all in any way, shape, or form. I don't know if she considers it witchy. I think she's more of a blog channel or a vlog channel now. I think she transitioned that way, which is fine. I mean, you do you. But when all of those people were around, everybody knew everybody. People knew who Brenda was. People knew who Derry Carpenter was. You could go to Ember Honeyraven and then go to Tequila and get the exact same story and their own personal experiences with Derry Carpenter. But the community now is like falling apart. We've all kind of done our own thing now. Like we've all just kind of gone off and started doing our own thing in our own channels and our own little universes with our own little communities. But we still generally know each other, whether we like each other or not. The witchy community is a small town, essentially. Everybody knows everybody and everybody knows everybody's business, mostly because they watch everybody's channel or they're friends with the same person who's friends with the channel that they watch, and they get gossip back and forth. And it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, the community is a small town. The problem, though, is when you go on Tumblr and you try to bring up some of these similar points of authenticity, realism, stuff like that. You know, I should create a Tumblr account. Would you imagine me with a Tumblr? You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to create a Tumblr account. Just because I can. Then I'm just going to post my witchy videos there and like witchy blogs and stuff like that. And I'm just gonna create a Tumblr account, and I'm just gonna really, really offend a lot of people on Tumblr with my content. That's what I'm gonna do. Because it's funny, because Tumblr witches are not witches. Like, there's Tumblr traditional witches. Okay. I've read some of your stuff, and I completely agree with you. And then there are Tumblr Wiccans and Tumblr witches who are predominantly female and between the ages of 14 and 25. And they have some very, very strong opinions. And those two communities, the Tumblr witches and Wiccans and the Tumblr traditional witches, they go back and forth violently. I've never seen so much drama on Tumblr before. And I'm not really one who uses Tumblr. I don't know. Have they cleaned up their Tumblr pornographic issue that they were having? Like, what is happening, right? Like, what is happening? So the point that I'm trying to get to is, yes, we can sit here and we can say, just because you say X doesn't mean it's true. However, in today's society, when you say just because you say or do or believe X doesn't mean it's true, when you say that, you offend a lot of people, and I'm trying to avoid that. I know, right? I'm the most controversial person on YouTube, and I'm trying to avoid being even more controversial by invalidating your pathetic attempts at being a witch. Goodbye, Cindy Lou Who. Goodbye. So last night I asked a bunch of questions. No, I didn't ask a bunch of questions. Last night I had you people ask me a bunch of questions. Now we got 9 of you, but it only looks like there's 3 or 4 of you in the chat. So all of you need to start asking me all of your witchy questions, like every witchy question that you can think of. Every witchy question. You know what? Let's see if Instagram has any witchy questions, because I did post on my story the other night asking people to ask me their witchy questions, and it doesn't look like I have any. How sad is this? I have no witchy questions that were asked of me. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to vape, and Lunar Wisdom's going to get mad because I'm not going to talk until somebody asks a witchy question. You people are making Lunar Wisdom mad. Why can't I be a uni wolf? You can be whatever you want to be. You can be a transgender uni wolf, bisexual, pansexual, homosexual, unicorn, witch, wolf, Apache helicopter. Lady Witch, you can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be a uni wolf, girl, all the power to you. Doesn't make it true. So I'm assuming nobody actually has any witchy questions for me, which is one of the reasons why I will never do a Q&A video, because nobody asks any questions that I would want to do a Q&A video on. So we're going to go looking through Facebook groups for something. How do you get a narcissist to leave you alone? That is a great question. You block them and you ignore them. Or you can do because people want witchy answers, you can do a banishment spell, a hot foot spell. You could do a curse so that anytime they speak your name, their mouth burns. I've used that one on Cat W Magic and a few other witches, and it's worked perfectly. They stopped instantly talking about me. So thank you. You can use poppet spells to get rid of them, bind them up, throw them in the river, let the river carry them away, stuff like that. If we all see reality different in our own minds and all minds are different, then who's really living a true reality? That one comes from a new group that I'm in that is more like esoteric, occult-based, philosophical stuff. So for this one, I would say your reality is the correct reality, as long as it doesn't intersect with somebody else's reality. Because we all do have our own reality. Like what is real in our world may not be real in somebody else's world. And so as long as the two realities don't overlap, such as when you get into a relationship, when you make new friends, stuff like that, then technically your reality is the true reality. A shared reality, on the other hand, where you have shared common understandings of what a reality is, would be the true reality. But the two realities can differ, and you can see this whole conversation go on for decades. There's 99 comments on here. None of us, our perception is limited by our sense and shaped by our experiences. Technically, this person is wrong. If you go with the law of mentalism, which is the only law that I know from the 7 Hermetic Principles, because that is some really dense, dry material packed into a small paragraphs, but like you could literally just philosophize, that's not even a word, on all of these things for all day long. But essentially, if you go to the law of mentalism, it basically states that nothing exists without first existing in the mind. So we think it exists. So I don't know. Everyone absolutely sees the same reality. It's how we try to interpret our own perspective to each other that's different. The problem is no one likes the reality we are currently in. So if we lie to ourselves hard enough and trick our mind to believing what we say we see, maybe it will change. Real change will not and cannot happen until we all agree and we all see reality. The same just chooses see reality the same, just choose to spin it different for our own comfortability so that the reality we were thrown in doesn't suck so bad. So in the meantime, the rest of the real universe awaits patiently until we can catch up. In my mind, you can't, and I'll get to the questions. I see that the chat is filling up the questions. In my mind, we all don't see the same reality and we all don't live in the same reality. Because, I mean, look at today's events, right? Look at the reality Trump apparently lives in. Look at the reality that you live in, and look at the reality that's being forced upon you. There's 3 different realities there, and all of them are affecting you. You end up creating your own reality based off of a mishmash of conceptions and what you experience and how your actions reflect into the sphere of the universe, you know? Okay. Non-judgmental. What gods do you serve? I don't serve a god. I work with a god. That's the thing that some people serve a god. Some people will literally bow down and worship a god or an entity or a deity or whatever, but I don't technically serve them. I serve the spirits, but I work with the god. We have a working relationship. I work with the Morrigan. I work with demons. We have a working relationship. We do things for each other. We help each other. It's a very, I wouldn't say it's balanced, but it's a very almost give and take relationship. I don't have any questions. I just like watching your videos. Witch Hazel, start asking questions. In your view, are gods real or symbols? That's a great question. I would say they're real. The energy that I feel when the Morrigan is around is different than when she's not around. I'm not saying that a symbol can't give off the same kind of energy, but for me, it's more that she's a reality because we communicate, we physically talk to each other. Like I don't like literally open my mouth and say words, but you know, like you feel a different type of energy, vibration around you when you're working with a god, and you feel a different type of energy vibration around you when you're working with a demon or a spirit or whatever it is that you work with. And for me, they're real entities that you work with to attain the things that you want to attain. Who is your favorite deity to work with? I have too many. I would say Boone. He is very laid back and very easy to work with. There's no blood sacrifices or any of that stuff that comes with working with him. There's some like there was a test when we started working together, but it's not like you must pass or I won't work with you. It was more of a, can you handle my energy type of thing. And he's one of my favorites to work with. He's just laid back and chill, but we don't work together a lot nowadays because there isn't, the main thing that I worked with him on was attaining money, stability, financial stability. And it wasn't until I worked with Clonic and the Morrigan to attain that I realized that Boone does have some limitations because Clonic and the Morrigan really like to rip everything apart and then build you back up. And with Boone, he's less about ripping you apart and more about trying to find opportunities that would help you in the short term as opposed to the long term. Okay. Okay. We were going through Facebook things while I wait for people to ask more questions. This one is far too long. Oh, wait, no, this one's kind of hilarious. So I did a work to manifest my husband. After getting out of our toxic relationship and being single for over a year, I know what I want. I've always wanted to get married, so here's the thing. I met this guy 4 months ago. Okay, this is getting really long, isn't it? Like, I don't have time for this. What is the point of this post? Everything feels right, and I'm going with the flow. Okay, he said, not now. Wait, what was this? Oh, she wants to have his baby. He said not now, but in a year or so, and he wants the baby to live with him. So apparently she's just dating the guy. I'm not reading this whole thing. Like, it is like 5 paragraphs. I'm sorry, but can you get to the point? So now I'm thinking, okay, you don't want a relationship right now, but you want me to have your kid in a year. What did I miss in manifesting to get this? That's a really great question. So you manifest a man, right? And you get into this weird relationship with him where he wants you to have a baby in a year and the baby has to live with him. That is the gist of this like 5-paragraph long thing. There's so much more to it, but most of it was about our abusive relationship or whatever. I don't know. Do you work with an ancestor or just a specific deity? I don't work with ancestors. I sort of work with ancestors when I work with spirits, but I don't call upon the ancestors. I work with the Morrigan and I work with demons. If I had to say a specific deity, I would say it would be the Morrigan, but I also work with demons and we form relationships and we work together. So like there's a whole cluster. But I hope that answers your question. So it doesn't seem like anybody's really answering the question here. Basically, what I would do is when you're trying to manifest a man or a woman, or anything that you want to love and appreciate and have with you for the rest of your life, what you want to do is you want to be very, very clear in your intentions. So if you're trying to manifest a husband, you say, not that I want. You don't say I want. I got that wrong. Don't follow me on that. It's not I want. Never say I want. Always say I have. I have a husband with these traits. I will have a husband by this date. I'm not saying that that it will manifest by that date, but you should start seeing things moving in some direction by that date. I have a husband who loves me and cares about me and wants to be around me and wants to have my children, wants to have children with me, wants to have my children. I don't think a man can have babies. You get the point though, right? Like you need to be specific and you need to also stick with the I have statements or the, and visualize the fact that he exists and all of that fun stuff. I wouldn't get too much into like what he looks like or, eggplant emojis or anything like that. Like I wouldn't really get into that unless that's what you want. I would also suggest that she probably works with a deity like Belith. I'm trying to find another demon that's great for love because I want to work with the Morrigan and a demon aside from Belith who would be really great at just ripping my love life right apart and rebuilding it. Because if you can go to the Morrigan and you can say, hey, I don't like my job. I want a different job. I want my life to change. She'll rip everything apart. And, and it's like, and I did that with the Morrigan and Clonic, and they ripped my entire financial and job life apart over a period of a few months in order for me to attain the position and the financial stability that I have now. So I feel like if I go to the Morrigan and work with another demon, someone said, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Is it Citri? If I work with a demon who's really, really great for love and really great at saying, okay, you want this, I'll just destroy your entire life and we'll rebuild it together. I think those two in tandem would work really great at destroying my love life. I think the other issue when it comes to manifesting love, which is something that I've always struggled with, can this thing get out of my face? What are you? It was a piece of this. I don't know if you can see that. Fluff. It's fluffiness. The fluffiness is affecting me. It's getting to me. If you go to a god or goddess or a spirit or whatever, and you're trying to manifest love, and you don't love yourself, and you're a very negative, toxic person, then it's gonna be really hard for you to are my teeth that yellow? Oh. Girl, we need whitening strips. I actually don't like whitening strips, but let me finish my thought process before I jump onto whitening strips. So you're trying to manifest love, but you don't love yourself. You're a very toxic, negative human being. That's what you're going to attract. You have to be the thing that you want to attract. or at least put out into the universe the thing that you want to attract. You know, like you can't sit there all day and be this negative Nancy who's like toxic and, you know, all this other stuff, and then expect a man to just, oh my God, I should literally be taking my own advice right now. I'm really great at giving advice, but I'm not good at taking it. Lunar Wisdom will say, yes, I know. I know, trust. I have raised you since you fell out with Lady Grave Dancer, and trust me, I know. But you can't expect to attract something when you're not willing to do the work yourself. So if you're attracting a man who's cheating on you, who's like doesn't want to be with you, or whatever the case may be, and you're using magic and you're attracting the wrong men, let's just put it that way. If you're using magic and you're attracting the wrong men, it is something is wrong with you. I know that is a horrible thing to say. I've done magic to attract love to me, and like, I don't know what's going on, and it's so confusing, and you're telling me it's my fault? It's not necessarily that you're doing something. It's something inside of you is resistant. You know? Like, I'm resistant because I don't want to get hurt again. I've been hurt in the past, and ooh, girl, that takes years for me to get over. So that is one of my biggest fears, is getting hurt again and having to go through all of that. And I just don't want to deal with that. And it just is very, no. And we'll just play you back to yourself. Right? Like, I don't watch my videos. Lately, I've been watching my videos back to see, okay, like, why is this not monetized? And I can't find a reason. But in some of them. But I'm, like I was saying, I'm really great at giving advice. I'm just horrible at accepting it. And then I've got insecurity. So that's why a lot of my love spells fail, because I have all of these insecurities. I don't want, you know, like, I'm getting older, my eggs are getting older, and it's like, honey, like, we need a man. Like, I'm a 1950s conservative Republican housewife. It's not that I need a 1950s conservative Republican house husband or husband. Just leave the house part off because he's got to go to work. I got to raise the kids. You know, but it's not that I want to attract that. It's that what I want to attract is somebody who wants to be with me. And I think that's where the specifics of your spell are really important, because if you're saying, you know, I want a man who has a 6-figure bank account and like a really nice house and a beautiful family. I'm not saying that magic can't eventually get you that, but you're probably going to be waiting for a very, very long time. Whereas opposed to if you go with somebody who's like, if you go with an intention or a spell where it's like, I want a man who wants to be with me, who is kind, who is caring, who is understanding, who wants to be with me. Or who is with me. You know, I'm always on this wants thing. It's who is with me. I have a man who is kind and caring and who is that you put out. And it's like the, you know, and you visualize it and you see it and you believe it and you live it. Sort of. And the universe will manifest that. But then there's the other thing, where a lot of people, because we live in the social media era, we don't get out much because we're all so busy working. And then we go home and we make dinner and we want to watch Netflix and we're tired and we don't want to go to a bar to meet somebody. So we go on Tinder, or we go on Grindr, or we go on Facebook's dating thing, or we go on whatever it is that we go on. Right? Some people will do the spell, do the intentions, do everything I just told them, and then sit back and wait for Prince Charming to knock on their door. And it doesn't work. Mundane has to be done, even in your love life. You got to go out. You got to find people. Join community activities where there are people that, you know, that you would want to be around, or you could make new friends. You also want to join just various types of groups if you can, like not Facebook groups in the real world, and do activities with them and so on and so forth. And there's like, the dating apps and so on and so forth. And there's been lots of success stories with dating apps, and there's been even more failures with dating apps. And it's a process. It's a process. The issue with me doing Love Spells is that a lot of the men that I find are not men who want to be monogamous. I don't know what it is with the gay culture today, but everybody wants an open relationship and an open this and an open that. I'm like, no. I'm a 1950s conservative Republican housewife who needs a man who, if he wants to have affairs on me, I better not find out about it, because I will take him for everything he has. Like, that is the type. I'm Betty Draper, okay? I'm Betty Draper, and I'm looking for Don Draper, is the point. So what other types of Facebook things do we have? People ask more questions. Oh, wait, here we go. Somebody just asked a question. What demon do you recommend for beginners to start to get to know, or should you just wait for them to come to you? Demons will come to you if you want them to. Every demon wants to work with you. Okay. And I say this in my series that I have coming up. Every demon wants to work with you. All you have to do is reach out and ask. They may test you. They may put you through a trial of some kind. I can't say that will be true of every demon. I haven't worked with every demon. I've only worked with like a small handful of demons, stuff like that. So you have to just reach out to a demon. I wouldn't reach out to a king. I do your research on demons. Do your research on the different levels of demons, because they have their own categories. And then pick the lowest one and just reach out and just kind of suss out the situation. Don't do it on the physical plane. This is where your mental abilities and your meditation abilities are going to be challenged, because you want to do it on the astral plane. You want to do it. So what I would do is I would set up a sacred magical space, and then basically with your mind, with your psychic abilities, we don't all have psychic abilities, but you develop them, with your ability to astral project and your ability to meditate and get into a trance-like state, you go to the astral plane. You'll be in your magical space on the astral plane. It'll replicate on the physical. And then from there, you can call upon the demon by its incense, its candles, name, sigil, its N even. Like, you call upon the demon and you have a conversation with the demon. Not all demons will come to you. Some will just be like, nope. And some will be like, yes. They all want to work with you, but some require you to have a specific reason for reaching out to them. At least that's been my experience. That's not everybody's experience, and some people would refute that, especially in Facebook groups. But at the same time, it's important for you to understand that your mental abilities of being able to astral project, being able to put yourself into like a trance-like state and call these beings forth, that's like the important thing. And then some demons may test you. They may put you through a trial. They may have one of their soldiers or one of their spirits basically do something to try and creep you out or freak you out or break your concentration. At least that's been my experience. It may not be everybody's. And if that's the case, then you just have to get through that. And if you can get through that, then you're pretty much on good ground with them. When did you first get interested in witchcraft? When I was 18, watching Charmed, and I had a Scott Cunningham book on living Wicca and 3 herbs, and I would just sit there and watch Charmed all day and like crush up these herbs and make incense. And then I started really deep diving into like Wicca and witchcraft and trying to figure out like what is this and what's real and what's not. And it just became a very interesting path for me to go down. So Asmodee does that a lot. I've never had demons test me when I continue to work with them. I've only ever had them test me when I first started working with them, or when I would first reach out to them. Maybe on the second time, Clonic did do something on the second time, but generally it's mostly like, okay, we see that you're here. We're going to try and break your concentration. We're going to do something. We're going to show you who you are. We're basically going to do something that's like, no, I don't want to work with you. Belith had a really great way of creeping me out, where he basically showed me, he took on the image of me with a smile all the way up here, and I was like mutilating my wrists with a knife, and I was like, no, like I had to step back from the altar from that one. I had to break the concentration and listen to him laugh at me. So, but he still continued to work with me, and I was like, okay. So, do you use Florida water ever? I do not. I have read up on Florida water. I get it's great for cleansing and cleaning your magical space, but I don't use Florida water. I also don't cleanse or consecrate my tools. Like if I get it from a thrift store, I might, if I'm using it for something witchy, I might pass it through some sage smoke, but like I generally don't cleanse or consecrate my tools. A lot of witches will say it's important for you to do that. It's important for you to either bathe it in Florida water if you can, if you're like, if it won't damage it, or put it through sage smoke or something of that magnitude. But for me, I don't really do any of that because it doesn't resonate with me. It just feels like it's another thing that you are supposed to do. And in my mind, in witchcraft, you shouldn't be supposed to do anything. You should be able to do what you want and what your path stipulates you to do. Sometimes the spirits will tell me to cleanse or consecrate a specific tool. Like the Morrigan the other night she wants me to cleanse the tarot cards that I use with her to communicate with her, because I think I used them to communicate with a different demon or something of that nature. And I just haven't gotten around to it. But I'm just like, listen, it's only your and my energy that's in these cards, so. While I wait for more questions to roll in, let's look at more Facebook group posts. Any genuine occult members here who can help me join? Don't you just love like when you're scrolling through your Facebook groups and people are like, you're already in the group. Like, what are you talking about? But I think this person wanted to join the occult. I don't see this type of language, and I'm not showing you the screen because there's people's names and faces and all that. But this type of language of any genuine, any real, any like that type of thing tends to say, like, you're not real, I'm looking for a real person. Like, what defines as real? I would have just asked my question of, I'm looking to get deeper into the occult, what books can you recommend? I need a quick, powerful money spell to pay urgent bills. Get a job. Saint Expedite works fast. The offerings to Saint Expedite given only after the job is done, and if there are not given, he will take the blessing away fast. I've never worked with Saint Expedite, so I can't comment on any of that being true or false. I can help you with money spells, but of course, it's mostly people. Like, there's lots of people in here that are like, inbox me. There's a certain amount we can ask for. Me too. Stuff like that. And most people are saying Saint Expedite. I don't think everybody needs to work with a specific saint. You could work with Boone. Boone is really great at giving you fast money. You do have to give him an offering, though, at least in my personal experience from working with him. If you don't give him a shot of tequila, again, my personal experience, he will get very, very, very mad. But also, you could do a money spell where you burn a green candle, and on a bay leaf, you write how much money you need, and you burn the bay leaf with the purest of intentions. Most money spells that I would do don't ask for a specific amount of money. It's just, I need the money to come in so I can pay the rent, I can pay the bills, I can put food on the table, I can feed the cats, I can keep the car going, and that will give me the money that I need. I don't ever really ask for a specific amount. So yeah, lots of people are like Saint Expedite. I need to protect my energy. My light is being dimmed. Something horrible in this relationship. I've tried everything to release myself. Leave the relationship. Somebody said, call your energy back. Write their name on a paper, fold it away from you, and wear that shoe for 7 days. Then rip the paper into 3 for 7 pieces and flush it into 3 or 7 pieces and flush it down the toilet. Some people are like, leave. And it was like, there's like, you can run from things. You can't run from things you're supposed to learn from. I'm sorry, if you're in a toxic or abusive relationship, there's nothing to learn from there. You need to leave the relationship if it's safe. Like, even, I don't want to say if it's safe for you to do so. Like, even if it's not safe for you to leave that relationship, call the cops. But if you're in a toxic, negative relationship, leave the relationship. It's not that hard. Saint Expedite never worked for me, but I had unusual requests. Share your unusual requests, Lady Witch. Share them. I'm just like kind of like reading through these to see if there's anything even worth talking about. Basically, there isn't. When anointing a candle, which way do you rub it? Up to attract, down to take away. For me, it's any way. It doesn't matter. It's all about the intention that you're putting into that candle. I, as you've seen in previous videos, will roll the candle in oil. I will drip oil onto the candle. Like, it doesn't matter in my craft personally, and in my personal opinion, which way you dress or anoint a candle. If you're following a specific type of tradition, then sure. If you're following a book, then sure. But if you're doing it based off of how the spirits tell you to do it or how your entities tell you to do it, then it doesn't matter. It also doesn't matter the color of candle, the shape of candle, the size of candle, if it's a smelly candle or not. If you can put oil anywhere on that candle, even just a thin coat of oil on the top of like one of those big jar smelly candles, you have a candle spell. If you can carve into your candle, even if it's a tea light candle, you have a candle spell. What else do we have here? Are there any spells to help you get over absent parents? I know that that's a lot, but I'm trying to move forward permanently and I need a little help. Let go of them. Or ask them why they're being so absent. Like, do people not do the mundane? Do they not go? Like, obviously she didn't share a lot of her reasoning behind why they're so absent, but like, people are just offering spell services to push out the absent parent. I'm like, that's not helping. Let's see. Is there anything else in here? Do you have any advice for better visualization skills? First, start with your meditation. Clear your mind. If you can meditate to the point where nothing is in your mind, if a thought comes in your mind, let it play out and let it move on its way. But if you can meditate or put yourself in a trance-like state where your mind is basically empty, then you can start visualizing the things that you want. When it comes, if you're at that stage and you're like, I'm still having trouble visualizing things, then what I would do is I would do some visualization practice. And how you would do that is pick something in your room, pick something in your house, whatever it is, put it in front of you if you can, and stare at it. Stare at it. Just stare at it intently. Stare at every facet of it. Like the plant behind me that you see, I don't know, over there, the green thing. For that, like when you'd stare at it, you'd visualize that it's a clay pot, it's got a rim, it's got green plants coming out of it. The plants look like this, some of them are variegated, some of them are not, so on and so forth. And then close your eyes and repicture it in your brain. Visualization does require some creativity, but this concept of not everybody's a creative person isn't right, especially when it comes to visualization. It just might take them a little bit longer. What else do we have here? Can we talk about Portal and its psychic's effect? Wait, what? That's not a question. Ignore that. Ignore that. Ignore that. How often do you feed your ancestors when you have libations for them? Do you pour it or simply put the bottles on the altar? Just curious. Currently, I feed mine every time I cook. I pour shots for them on Sundays. I don't feed spirits, ancestors, demons, Morgon. I mean, the last time I gave them food, they were really, really demanding that I made up some cornbread and put it on the altar for the spirits. I don't know why. It popped into my brain one day, and they were really demanding. They were all up in my space and being like, we want cornbread, we want cornbread. So I reached out to Solitary Luna and I was like, why are they asking me for cornbread? Like, what is this? And she's like, oh, it's what did she say it was? Oh, what is it called? Basically seeing if I would listen. What is that called? I don't know, but basically they were trying to see if I would listen and if I would follow through and do as I was told, because they were basically telling me make cornbread. And so I ended up making the cornbread and leaving a piece of it. I really like my cornbread, by the way. It's very fluffy. It's not dry. It's moist. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Everybody wants to eat my cornbread. Eat my cornbread. But yeah, and so I left it out on the altar. That was one and only time I think I've ever fed the spirits or the entities. Like Boone, I will give a shot of tequila to. Like if he asks for it or if I've done working with him, like that makes sense. But I've never just like left something out for the spirits before, or like left out food offerings or drink offerings unless I was specifically told. Obedience. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Let's see. This Mercury retrograde can kiss my beep. Yeah, we gotta censor ourselves now. Mercury retrograde is a very decisive topic for me. It is Lunar wisdom. Solitary, you will always have questions. Ask all your witchy questions, all of them. People in the chat aren't asking enough, and I know you have topics you want talked about. So start typing, little sister. But what were we even talking about? Mercury retrograde. We were talking about Mercury retrograde. I don't like this concept of Mercury retrograde because I think 99.99.99. All of you get it wrong. For those of you who work in astrology-based magics, it makes sense. But for the rest of us, it doesn't. Like every witch on Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, social, Twitter, Pinterest, whatever you want to call it, every single witch is so obsessed with Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde this, Mercury retrograde that, Mercury retrograde. It's a planet. Why are you allowing, unless you work with the planets, unless you work with planetary energy and planetary beings and planetary alignment and planetary times and all that other stuff, unless you physically work with that stuff, why are you allowing it to affect you? You're just inviting negative energy into your space, into your life. You're allowing a planet to dominate your life. Your emotions, the way you react, the way you talk, the way you do things. You blame your idiocies during the time of Mercury retrograde on Mercury retrograde, and it's like, no, take ownership of your own life. Take ownership of your own actions. Accept that things don't always go right, and it's not because of a planet, it's not because of a witch, it's not because of a curse, it's not because of a demon, it's not because of anything. It's just sometimes the universe says, you know what? No. And generally there's a reason for it, and you might not see it right now because you're so mad and you're so busy blaming Mercury retrograde for all of your life issues. that you don't see the realities of the situation. I could understand where Mercury retrograde could affect your life in a drastic way, like how a lot of people are talking about, if you were somebody like Ravenways, who works with in astrology and as far as I know, works with planetary alignments and stuff like that. If you were that person, if you were a ceremonial magician or somebody who works in that type of magical sphere, I could understand that. But most witches don't. We don't really, like, I don't work with the planets. I don't work with the moon. I mean, sometimes I do, but I will leave special candles out under the moon to absorb their energy, or I will leave water out under the moon to absorb its energy for cleansing purposes or to draw upon its power for later use. But that's very, very rare. Like, I've only maybe done that 2 or 3 times in the entire time that I've been on YouTube, and maybe 4 times in the entire time that I've ever been a witch. Like, is energy work the same as witchcraft? Well, it depends upon your definition of energy work, what you define as energy work. If it's spell-based energy work where there's intentions and visualization, then yeah. If it's just like manipulating energy, then I mean, I can't see why not. But I mean, it really depends upon your definition of energy work and what energy work is to you. Some people would consider, there's those people who will realign your chakras for you, where they will visualize your chakras and they will realign them for you or stuff like that. That's a form of energy work that's more new agey. Reiki is also a form of energy work that can be done long distance, that in my opinion is more also new agey, but is more creditable than some new agey practices, if that makes sense. For those who don't know the difference, explain how working with elements is different than elemental workings. I think I'm going to need you to explain that one. Okay, I'll give you my thought process on this, and Solitary, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, because I feel like I'm going to be wrong on this. Working with the elements is more about channeling the elements and their powers. Like, maybe, for example, you're working with fire, so you're channeling the magical properties, the energy of fire to do something, whether it's burn somebody or whether it's remove a situation or protect yourself with a fiery wall of protection or something like that. You're channeling that type of energy and you're putting it to use. Working with an elemental would be working with for example, an elemental of fire to go out and do your bidding, or to basically petition and ask, hey, could you do this for me? And they'll send their appropriate spirits out essentially to do the working for you. That is my understanding. Like, that is the only way I know how to understand, like, to define the difference between working with elements and elementals, because one is a spiritual being, an entity that you can call upon and work with, and another one is channeling the power of that particular element or of a subset of elements. I have worked with the elements, not elementals. I've worked with the elements before, and you've seen that in a working video where I channel the power of fire, water, earth, air, and spirit to attain the thing that I was trying to attain at that particular point in time. But I've never called upon an elemental. I don't know if that's a correct definition or separation of the two, but that's my understanding, which could be way off. That's pretty close. Well, I'm glad that it's close. Just realize that it's probably not the correct answer, but it's my understanding of how it's to be done. I've never read a book on elementals or the difference between working with the elements and the elementals. I may have to look that up later. I really respect people who work with planetary alignments for the nitty-gritty, but sometimes you don't have time for that. And that's what I understand about Ravenways' channel, is that she does work with the planetary alignments and the planets and that type of stuff, but sometimes she doesn't have time to wait for Venus to get into the appropriate position in order to do a spell on a certain day at a certain time, so she just does it. That is my understanding of her craft. I could be way off, but that's my understanding. For me, I do magic whenever it needs to be done. if there is a spell, like if the spirits are saying you need to do this, I can generally put it off for like a night or so. But then they get really upset with me, and I'm just like, oh, I should do that spell. Like there was a time not too long ago where the Morrigan wanted me to do a money spell with her. No, she wanted to do it, but she wanted me to do everything else. And then I would just be channeling her and putting her energy into the candle. And I think almost a week went by before she's like, you're running out of time. Like this door is about to close. And I was like, okay, can I do it tomorrow night? And she's like, yeah. But that's like the absolute last minute. She doesn't like working last minute. She is not a deity who, if you are the type of person like me who puts things off because life is busy or work is busy or whatever, and you keep putting things off, she will get very annoyed with you. And she will think that you're not taking your craft seriously or the relationship with her seriously. And she will get mad and she will get upset and it becomes a mess and you have to clean it up. And you're just like, I do take my craft seriously. It's just life is sometimes, you finish a 16-hour day of work and you really don't want to sit down at the altar and do a spell because she told you 2 nights ago to do it. And so you put it off. Deities have no concept of human toils. Toils? No. Human lives. There we go. Let's go with that. So you guys know I like to keep these videos about 2 hours long. So if you have any other questions, ask them now because we are getting down to the 10-minute mark before I disappear into my bedroom and watch TV and sleep and then wake up tomorrow. I'm so happy that I get paid tomorrow. Just so happy. So happy. Just so happy. I can get my Jane. We can't say what it is. We all know what it is, but I can't say it because I'll get demonetized. This video's probably already been demonetized. But I get my Jane. I get more vape juice. I pay some bills. I watch my money disappear. I just wanted to tell you guys this last non-witchy off-topic thing. I was seeing somebody for, let's say, about 3 weeks. Not really seeing them, more sussing them out, going on dates. Like we'd go on a date once a week. But I was really liking this person, and this person was like, oh, I don't like the fact that you vape, and I don't like the fact that you, like, smoke the Jane. And I was like, great, I'm going to die alone. I'm a very lonely person. I'm extremely lonely and depressed because I'm very lonely. And I'm sad all the time, and that is why I like the Jane, because I can just be like, I don't want to deal with this. I keep telling you, make your own vape juice. It's a lot cheaper. I have been buying vape juice that has a higher nicotine in it, and I'm finding that my 100 milliliter bottles last me a lot longer now because it has a higher nicotine in it. But this has a nicotine in it of 9, and I need to go up to at least a 15. I really need that nicotine in my blood all the time. Just keep me numb. Put the Jane in my system. Keep me numb. Have you ever learned any important lessons from deities, and has it changed your craft in any way? That is a great question. That really is. So for me, with the Morrigan and working with Clonic, it was learning how to let go. Learning how to not have control over the entire situation and allowing the situation to be placed into their hands and to be dealt with and not try and micromanage every aspect of it. That was the hugest and hardest and toughest lesson for me to learn, and it took a long time, and I'm still learning it. I've also learned that some deities and some entities are just not good for my craft, like the saints. Like I've said in the past, the saints were very last minute. They were very, we will help you if we think it's of grave importance. Like it was just very, it has to be life or death before they will help you. That was my experience with them. With working with the demons, it's about the lesson that I have learned, especially with Belith, is being able to take control of that particular situation and say, no, I will not let you put these images or visualizations in my head for me to experience. I won't allow this to happen. I've also learned, especially working with demons, not to work with them on the physical plane because that's too much energy. It's too much all at once, and I just can't deal with it, and I get really overwhelmed, and then my entire space is full of this energy, and I don't know how to get rid of them, and it just becomes a mess. Like new demons, not demons I'm currently working with or that I have a relationship with, but new demons. Like if I was to go look up this Citri demon that somebody had mentioned above, I don't even know if I'm saying that properly, I would not reach out to them on the physical plane. I made that mistake with Boone. I was like, oh, okay. So those are my life lessons that I've learned. So I've talked and I've gabbed and I've babbled and I've gone on about many different things and I've answered lots of witchy questions. So I am going to... Oh. Wait, we have one more question. Okay, I'll take this one last question. What lesson learned from working with spirits, deities, etc. has surprised you the most? The letting go aspect. As Solitary and Lunar Wisdom will know, I am a control freak. I'm a Virgo and I'm a control freak. Everything has to be done at a specific time. I have no patience. I do not like waiting for things. If I'm doing a money spell or a job spell, the chances of me doing that because I am desperate are very, 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 very high. I take the mundane work very seriously, but if I've done all the mundane and I've come to you and I've asked you for help and it's not manifesting fast enough, I will continue to pile on those spells. And being able to let go and just know that it is in their hands and that they are taking care of it and that the universe will do what the universe will do in the time given to the universe, then that is the most surprising lesson that I have learned, because that I can also translate into my own mundane life where it's like I'm not focus so much on what other people, like why is this person taking so long, why is this person not getting back to me. And it's helped me a lot in my work life as well, because in my work life, when I ask for something from one of my colleagues, I expect it to be there now, and I have to understand that, you know, I am the only full-time person at this particular job that I work at. So yeah, things are going to take time and you have to have patience. But with that said, I am going to go to bed now, and I'm glad that we've all got to chat, and Solitary will have to rewind the film and watch it from the beginning because she's probably missed so much. I threw a lot of shade at her. Just kidding. And until next time, my fabulous little creatures. Goodbye.